11th of January, 1945. Thursday.
János Tolnai.
15 years old, District 12.
Kis János Altábornagy Street. The house has already been hit by several mortar shells, but thankfully no bombs so far. Mortar fire continues every evening and morning, and often during the day as well. I tried to go out to our apartment, but it was inaccessible because the Russians were already there. We managed to get some kerosene from somewhere, and we're using it to light the basement, where we're living with 400 others. There are 7 compartments, so we've spread out among them. Our food supplies have run out. There's only a little bread left for Jerica. We're eating black coffee, soup, and horse meat. Notes. This was the state of things on January 5th, my 15th birthday. I could have received a better birthday gift from fate, but the real and most beautiful gift is that I'm alive and can be with my family, my mother, father, my 13-year-old sister Terry, and my 2-year-old little brother Jerica. I tried once more to take a detour to reach our apartment on Budapest Street to retrieve the poetry booklet I'd accidentally left behind when visiting my godmother. I would have regretted losing it in the war. I didn't tell my parents, as they would surely have forbidden such recklessness. On my way, I made it to the Karoli barracks on Budapest Street without encountering a single soul. There, a trench cut across the road, where a single German soldier was stationed, holding the line in a small shelter. When he spotted me, he angrily shouted, "Zurich! Zurich! Back! Back!" waving his arms to order me away. Far off, in the direction of our apartment, I saw small figures moving. Presumably, they were Russian soldiers. Obeying the German, I quickly turned back and headed home, realizing what danger this reckless adventure could have brought upon me. Finally, a little snow fell, but we could only collect a small amount from the military vehicles parked near the houses. It was dirty, but after letting it settle, we saved enough to make soup. There's a boy in the basement who goes out to fight every day with patriotic enthusiasm. His parents beg him to stay home, but in vain. His name was Nandi, and he always carried a submachine gun around his neck and grenades on his belt. His hatred for the Russians radiated from his entire being. He proudly declared that he was fighting for Hungary and was ready to die for it if necessary. Sadly, that's exactly what happened. One day, as usual, he left the basement but never returned. His parents received word that he had died at the BAME statue in Buda. He wasn't even 19 years old. The whole basement mourned Nandi, a kind boy loved by everyone. We never found out where his body was or who buried him. As we later learned, Nandi had been a youth instructor.
Fáy Hildegard, Castle District, Attila Street 6. 23 years old, college student. Frequent bombings. We are learning and expanding our knowledge of warfare. They say that if the bomb craters are large, the bombers are British. If the noise is deafening and lasts longer, then there are more planes. This is called carpet bombing, capable of destroying entire rows of buildings. Soviet planes carry smaller loads, but they fly lower and shoot at everything. The British and the Soviets take turns bombing, with brief pauses in between. So far, a smaller bomb has landed in the courtyard. All the windows facing the courtyard were shattered. I was standing in the basement, not far from the impact. I only felt the soil collapsing onto me, filling my eyes and mouth. The damage was extensive, the window frames were blown out as well. Poor Uncle Hamza. In their kitchen, the wall behind which his severely ill wife lay cracked and was on the verge of collapse. We noticed the smell of something burning. We couldn't hear her weak cries for help from the mezzanine. We carried her down to the shelter and set up a bed for her in the foyer. From the gate, I saw a small black dot high in the sky. It grew rapidly, and black dots detached from it. The adults quickly pulled me into the basement. Packages rained down on Lagodi Street and Christina Boulevard. By chance, we were spared. Occasionally, the sergeant's daughter visits us. She works as a nurse in the castle. She's kind and approachable. We chat with her. There's a German military hospital in the castle. There aren't enough beds, so soldiers lie on half-door panels and carpets gathered from here and there. Initially, the cauldrons for cooking goulash were set up in the small courtyards opening from the ground floor corridors. The Russians spotted them and started targeted bombing, so now they cook in the hallways. Our task: digging a grave for burial. Preparation: obtain a shovel and spade. Finding a site: there's a small flat area on the edge of Horváth Garden. A shelter is visible across Attila Road. It didn't work out, the ground is frozen. We found 2 spades and a snow shovel. I still have my sturdy little iron spade from childhood. We dug for about 15 minutes, scraping together a few clods of earth, then quickly retreated to the shelter. We kept trying but couldn't manage. In the afternoon, the adults buried Aunt Hamza in a bomb crater. Her coffin was half a wardrobe. Her husband read a prayer over her from a reformed psalter: "Grant her, O Lord, eternal rest." A shell struck the church. To reach the boiler room, you have to go down opposite the sacristy, where there's a small altar and a few chairs. During Mass, a carpet bombing began, with explosions all around. Across from the school on Christina Boulevard, a new aid station has been established. It is operated by medical students. We decided to visit it, thinking we might be able to help. 3 of us set out. The aid station is located in the basement beneath a confectionery. Inside, there is a large table covered with a sheet, a chair holding a few shiny metal instruments, glasses, buckets, and bowls. 3 medical students welcomed us warmly. The boys were immediately taken to a stationary bicycle, mounted on a frame, where they were tasked with pedaling to generate light using a dynamo. A broom was handed to me, and I was told to clean. I started sweeping, encountering bloody scraps of paper and cotton everywhere. I had forgotten how queasy blood makes me, that's why I could never become a doctor. I took a deep breath and forced myself to continue. But then, as I swept the debris onto the dustpan, I saw it: pieces of human fingers. That was too much. The next thing I remember, the 2 boys were dragging me out into the hallway. They were furious and scolded me harshly. What a disgrace.